If you're anything like me, then you have this urge to go as fast as possible in any racing game. Now, I'm not talking about fast as possible as in win every race. That's boring stuff. What I mean by this is a more literal sense. The amount of serotonin I get from reaching unrealistic speeds in a racing game is odd, but it's incredibly satisfying for whatever reason. So in my random thoughts, I decided to see how fast I could push a car in NASCAR Thunder 2003. Now obviously I could go and make it set up and go run practice and do it in a more conventional way. But no. What I ended up doing was using the game's multiplayer speed comp in a way the game did not intend. When the speed comp is on, the player who falls behind the other will start getting a burst of speed to allow them to catch up. So how am I going to use this to make the car reach ludicrous speeds? Easy. We go to Daytona, we park one car on the apron, and we allow the other car to lap it multiple times. After a few laps, we then park the car that is laps ahead on the apron and switch over to the car that is now multiple laps down. The car that is multiple laps down will start getting ridiculous amounts of speed in an attempt to catch up. I assume the game gives more of a boost to the car that's behind, the farther behind they are, but I'm not entirely sure. Nonetheless, you'll see here that the 48 car is reaching ridiculous speeds at Daytona that the car really shouldn't be reaching. Now, one of the major problems here is the car is actually going so fast that it's impossible to full throttle at Daytona, which is something you don't usually have a problem with in this game. That's right, the car's going so fast that I had to lift and coast, and even sometimes that wasn't enough, and I still ended up in the wall. So at Daytona, I capped that at 224 miles an hour and set a crazy lap of 43.21, which is a good bit faster than the track record, I think. I couldn't really push the car anymore at Daytona because of, well, like I said, I could only reach 224, 225 miles an hour before the car would just completely give up on me and just stop turning. So we need to go to a track that has a little more banking and maybe doesn't have restrictor plates. Obviously, I had to go to Tiburon. For those of you unaware, Tiburon is a fictional racetrack, obviously, is a 3-mile superspeedway that is unrestricted. It's also clockwise, which is a little bit weird. So once again, I went with the setup, and I paid close attention to how fast the 24 car was going here, since he was my lead car, test, whatever you want to call it. And he reached 229 miles an hour, unrestricted, with no help whatsoever. So already at Tiburon default, with no boosts, nothing, I was reaching speeds that were 4, 5, 6 miles an hour faster than what I had done at Daytona with the boost. So I was really, really excited to see what the 48 car would do, and I was not disappointed. The 48 car took off, and at its peak, it reached 269 miles an hour before I slammed straight into the wall. Because once again, the ugly issue of it not wanting to turn because the game doesn't really intend for you to go that fast. And there was also the problem of blowing my engine. That's right, I was going so fast that the 48 car redlined at like 9,200 RPMs, and then the engine just went. So I had to go back to the drawing board and get a little creative with a setup. And the setup I made, I'm pretty sure is not the most efficient. I just literally set every gear to be as long as possible. And this was actually a detriment to the 24 car, as it couldn't get out of second gear and couldn't even obtain the speed that it had obtained on its initial run. But the thing with the rubber banding or the speed comp, whatever you want to call it, it's pretty much rubber banding, let's be honest with ourselves. That's what we all know it as. I'm not entirely sure if it took into account the setup. Like, I'm not sure if my setup did anything other than keep the car from grenading itself, which it did not. I was able to run multiple laps without the car even reaching anywhere near redlining, but I was still reaching very high speeds. But the problem, once again, was I could not get the car to turn. I was literally having to throw the car in just in weird ways to try and get it to stick to the bottom. And I did actually get it to stick to the bottom once in turn 3 and 4. After a few wall slammings and slappings and general frustration, I managed to get a speed of 262 miles an hour off of turn 4, which was much better than I had gotten in pretty much every run on the exit of turn 4. and down through the front straightaway, through the tri-oval. For the briefest of moments into turn 1, I got the speedometer to hit 271 miles an hour, and then I slammed the wall. Now, that is the best I could do. 271 miles an hour is my benchmark, and that is pretty much all I could reach. One would assume that if I had sat there and tried to make a setup that helped more in the acceleration department to allow the car to reach speeds faster, that maybe I could have reached a higher speed, because very clearly it's obvious that the acceleration is going to play a bigger part when you can't turn in the corner without slowing down more. And I'm pretty sure you could throw the car into the corner in a way that makes it able to make the corners, but I just could not get it down. Like I said, I only really got through the corner at decent speed once or twice. So pretty much what I'm saying is, if there's anybody out there, and I would really like for y'all to try this yourselves if you have 2 controllers to play multiplayer in Thunder 03. Just, you know, do whatever you have to do and try and beat 271 miles an hour at Tiburon. And, I mean, you can comment it, what you did, and I'll try it myself off camera just to see if I can do it. Tweet at me at ToxicFungi13 or whatever, you know, just let me know if any of you can beat this, because that's the best I could do. And I was getting frustrated at the end. I actually ended up turning around and just slamming into the AI repeatedly because I was so damn frustrated with not being able to get over 271. Because in my mind, the speed that I had in my head to obtain was like 285. I want that's, I mean, 271 is ridiculous enough in a stock car, right? But I for some reason just 285 was in my head as that's the goal. And I ended up going 271, which, to be fair, is still a lot faster than you're supposed to go. For reference sake, at Tiburon, my best lap was a 42.38. So there you go. I was almost an entire second faster at a bigger track. With Daytona being, what, 2 miles long, 2.5 miles long, something like that. Tiburon's bigger. That's just the point I'm trying to make. And I was almost a second faster on my best lap there. I mean, I was only almost, 50 miles an hour faster at my peak. But anyway, guys, that's all from me. That's all for this goofy little, I don't know, challenge, what can I do, whatever you want to call this. I'm 100% certain that there's somebody who can do this better than me. So I'm curious, I want to see it, let me know. Anyway, peace.